Okay, want to do some fine tuning and configuration of the Spark. And what I want to do is I want to set the variables. And if you set of environmental variables, if you remember, go to user lib Spark, and there's a directory called conf, and we made a very simple setup. And now I want to configure it a little bit. The first option we have already set is involves with worker, and this variable, as explains, is to set the number of cores to use on this machine. And what I'll do is I will set the number of cores. Let's say equals 2. So that means each worker will have 2 cores or CPUs. Other option, let's continue the worker. This is the memory option. You can set this. And memory, I want to set a small memory because for teaching purpose, we just need to illustrate the idea. So it's going to be 1 gigabyte. And another directory, this option called Spark worker directory, we want to set to set the working directory. Essentially, you can think this is the temporary directory that the worker need to access to. I'm going to set this to be I'm going to use this make dir Spark. I'm going to use this directory. And there is and I think I also need to okay, let's try it again. Check worker cores, we just said that. Worker memory, we just said that. And worker port, and there is a worker instance. We just the port, you're gonna use the default port. So for worker instances, And what I want to do is just set equals 2. So I got 2 worker instances, and each worker will have 2 cores, so together they will use 4 cores. Okay, and there are additional, have set workers, worker, and worker dir. Let's also set the executor and make sure okay, here it is. I want to set the executor memory, and this just to make sure that we don't run out of memory. And I have fairly large memory instance of virtual machine, so I can also set, say, 2 GB for this, and so together at least they will use 4 times 2 GB plus another 2 GB, so it's about 4 GB, and of course there'll be additional memories used for a little bit else. And that should be it. And here I set the worker memory to 8 GB. That's probably too large, so I'm gonna okay. And what to first do is I want to go to SBin and start master. What this does is they just start the master load, and if you want to check whether this is running okay or not, you go to your VNC machine and you go to internet, and remember, if you go to 8787, that will be the R session. And for Spark, it is running at this address, and the port name is 7077, and but this 8080 will show you how many workers they have and how many what the master node. And here we don't see any workers here because we have not started the workers yet. And so in order to start the worker, we want to go to SBin again. I want to say start slaves. It has not started, and one of the reason is that permanently, and one of the reason is set permission denied, and because by default we need to basically the Spark instances need to connect to the local machine. So in order to do this, we're going to look at our SH keys. Okay, we do not yet have the SSH keys, so we're gonna go to SH and then SH key generate and file, and well, usually this should be fine. So we're gonna generate the key ID, and we're gonna not enter any passphrase, and this is the key we just generated, and we're gonna cat id rsa.perp into authorized keys. Okay, and you see they printed out 2 lines because we in our configure file we only ask to create 2 workers. So if you refresh your monitor page again, you will see you will have 2 workers, and each one will have 2 cores, meaning that each one will have access to 2 cores, so you can run essentially 2 jobs concurrently on the same worker. And this will allow us to mimic the situation you have access to a huge cluster. Say each worker is a cluster node, and each node may have multiple cores. And for example, on CCV, some of those nodes will have 16 or even 24 cores, so you can set those options depending on what kind of nodes you have. But for this class, we just gonna use the single machine to illustrate the idea. Now we have everything set up. We can start Spark again. So we're gonna do Spark shell master, and this is the address of the master. Okay, just like before, if you want to view Spark from your local machine on a browser, you just on a browser you just need to go to the networking again and check the firewall rules and make sure 8080 is open. Right now it is not open, so what I would do is just create firewall rule, and I'll just create Spark 8080, and I will just allow from any IPs and TCP column 8080, and now it's creating this rule. And if I go back to the compute engine and I copy this IP address, I want to look at 8080. There you go. You can also monitor your cluster from your local machine.